Hey guys, earlier this week I posted a video with my interview with Jaime Rodriguez, who is the CEO of Bookkeeper Launch. And him and I had actually chatted for like 45 minutes, but I edited that video down to be really concise and just have the really pertinent information. So it's like 12 minutes long. So I also wanted to release the full interview in case any of you guys wanted to listen to it. So for example, in this video, he talks about AI and how he uses AI in his business. Specifically, he's a little obsessed with Star Wars, so he'll kind of like get AI to write him like a funny, personalized like job description, for example. He also talks more about his role at Bookkeeper Launch and how he got into that role. We talk about how you can have like a random college major and then be a bookkeeper, because he was a marketing major, I was an English major, and a lot more interesting stuff. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this, if you prefer the curated videos. I would recommend just sticking in an earbud maybe and listen to it like a podcast while you're doing the dishes or something. There are some clips that are repeated from the earlier video this week, but hopefully you will stay interested because of all that bonus content. And personal side note, I always feel a little awkward like interviewing people live, so you can see me in kind of a live setting without any editing. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. A thumbs up helps give this video engagement, and there's a bunch of bookkeeper resources linked in the description box if you want help setting up or running or getting clients for your bookkeeping business. Oh yeah, and I also got a haircut since I filmed this video, so my long hair will be a little jarring. I am here today with the CEO of Bookkeeper Launch, Jaime Rodriguez. Welcome.
Hi, Morgan. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, we're really happy to hear from you and hear a little bit about your story and Bookkeeper Launch. So do you want to just start out by telling us a little bit about your background, how you became a bookkeeper and then got involved with Bookkeeper Launch?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been in bookkeeping since 2013, which is that's when I graduated college. I didn't know I wanted to get into bookkeeping. I started as a marketing major, and I know I'm going way far back here in my journey.
That's interesting because I'm the same way. Like I had nothing, my major is nothing to do with accounting or bookkeeping.
Really? Okay.
I was an English major.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I started as a marketing major, and then I did take accounting courses. We had to, and I can honestly say I hated them. And I thought they were going to be the bane of my existence, and they were very, very tough. And that's actually why I ended up doing that, is because I realized, hey, the job market isn't what it was back then, and I wanted to be able to find a job. So what I ended up doing is finding something that was something that people that was difficult, that not just anybody could wake up and start doing, right? And so that's how I got into it. I started working for a furniture store as a bookkeeper. Okay. I very quickly realized how much I hated working with inventory. And it's tough, right? It's nuanced, and it's just different. Some people love it, some people hate it. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was like, this isn't for me. So after a couple of years there, I ventured into the law firm. I worked for a law firm as a bookkeeper there. Mm-hmm. And after that, that's where I shared an office with the office manager there. And she said, hey, you know what? You should start a bookkeeping business. I know somebody that does really well for themselves and to do that. And honestly, it had never even crossed my mind. I had no idea that was a thing. Like for me, even in college and through those first two jobs, I thought bookkeeping was to do the books for that one company. So I couldn't even fathom, like, how could I actually do books for, I don't know, dozens of companies or even hundreds of companies. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And so it's actually when I did a Google search to look for some kind of course that would teach me how to do this new adventure that I wanted to get into in starting a bookkeeping business. And not only that, although I had the background, I really wanted to find something that taught me from A to Z, right? I wanted to come in and act as if I don't know anything about accounting or bookkeeping. And that's how I found Bookkeeper Launch. And that was in 2017. I purchased the course just like every other student, became a student of it. I started my business, within a couple of months, I had my first two clients within 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it the hard way, Morgan. I I like moved back in with my parents. I
Uh-huh.
pulled
Uh-huh.
out my 401k.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I'm doing this. I'm doing this for
Yeah.
real.
Okay.
And so I moved back in with my parents, knowing that these two clients weren't going to make it for me, right? It wasn't going to
Yeah.
be enough to not even
Mm-hmm.
pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it took me about 2 years to
Mm-hmm.
match what I was making at the law
Mm-hmm.
firm as an employee.
Yeah.
And after that, after I matched it, I moved out. I love my parents, but I was also
Uh-huh.
in my mid to late 20s, and I didn't want to
Yeah.
be there forever. And I
Mm-hmm.
was able to move out. And 2019, about late 2019, Bookkeeper Launch, they were looking for somebody to help with support. And
Mm-hmm.
so I applied, even though I had my clients, and I
Mm-hmm.
kept my clients, and I started working with Bookkeeper Launch,
Mm-hmm.
supporting our students. And it was honestly one of the best. It still is one of my favorite positions there, because here at Bookkeeper Launch, because it was just so rewarding. It was so
Mm-hmm.
rewarding and it still is, to help somebody and see just kind of that light bulb moment, virtually see the
Yeah.
light bulb moment,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
When you're explaining something and
Uh-huh.
somebody's like, "Oh, I get it," or "Thank you for
Yeah.
explaining it that way." So it was just
Mm-hmm.
much more
Mm-hmm.
rewarding. And uh, shortly after, I guess I say shortly, a couple of years later, I become the curriculum manager. So
Mm-hmm.
I also started recording some videos for the course,
Mm-hmm.
all while still keeping my bookkeeping business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I still even have it, the bookkeeping business,
Mm-hmm.
until this past summer. I decided to really scale my bookkeeping business down. And honestly, that in itself, it's such a blessing to be able to say, hey, my business is too much to handle.
Mm-hmm.
I need to
Yeah, for
bring
sure.
it down, right? So
Uh-huh.
that was to look back at that and say that I could do that
Mm-hmm.
it is awesome, and it's something that I'm grateful for. But I've been able to scale that back. I accepted the role as the CEO
Mm-hmm.
here, and still keeping my bookkeeping business running. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
something, Bookkeeper Launch for me is something that's changed my life
Mm-hmm.
in so many ways. Right, outside of just working here, but I'm also a product of it, right? It's something
Yeah, that's so cool. Uh-huh.
it's just something that I truly, really believe in, and I know
Mm-hmm.
that I've seen it happen for me, and I've seen it happen for a bunch of other students. So it's
Mm-hmm.
something that, for me, is something that I really love and I have a passion for.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, okay. I feel like I have so many like follow-up questions. But so what happened to your clients when you scaled back?
So
Like did you
the great thing about it is I have referrals, right? I said, hey,
Mhm.
because through Bookkeeper Launch, we get to meet a lot of awesome students,
Mhm.
and I've made some of my best friends there now, that I still talk to, that are bookkeepers.
Mhm.
And when I decided to scale back, I gave them a list of people that I trusted, right? Because bookkeeping is in itself is it's very much driven by trust. You're
Mhm.
handling a lot of people's finances, and you get to know a lot about them. So they
Mhm.
want to. I left in good graces and said, "Hey, here are
Mhm.
some people that I trust," and
Okay.
I handed them a few names, so I didn't
Mhm.
want to promise, say, like, "Hey, you're going to
Yeah.
get these clients." I let the
Mhm.
client make that choice right at the end,
Mhm.
and some of them went a different route. Some of them
Yeah.
did just kind of hire their tax preparer,
Mhm.
and said, "Okay, my tax preparer can do this now," and or their
Yeah.
CPA, and went that route. But
Mhm.
it was nice to kind of have that referral network.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that about bookkeeping because so I started like 10 years ago bookkeeping
Hmm.
and I've had two kids in the meantime. So like when I had a baby, I would really scale back for a little bit.
Yeah.
And just like the flexibility of being able to like in different seasons of life, like have more or less clients is so nice.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's so nice. And I always say with bookkeeping, there's really no real emergencies, so you're
Yeah.
able to take some time off when you want it or
Yeah.
when you need
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Uh-huh, for sure. Okay, can you talk a little bit about how you got clients? Because I feel like you were kind of in a unique position where you had a little bit of bookkeeping
Hmm.
experience. And I know it's intimidating for a lot of people to like I get a lot of questions either like people are scared to start with their first client, or some people tell me, I'm doing all these things, all these marketing things, and it's just really hard to get clients. They're like, I'm reaching out to like, you know, 10 people a week and I just haven't seen those clients yet. So what was kind of your story, or what would you say to those people?
Yeah, so my first couple of clients came from my own personal network. So I will say I had an upper hand, right, in knowing that I worked for that law firm, and I knew a lot of attorneys that left the law firm and started their own small boutique law firm, and so that was the first thing I did. I went and just reached out to all those people and said, "Hey, remember me? I was the bookkeeper.
Yeah.
We used to work together," and that's how I got my first two clients. But I think the strongest the best way to get your first client is always going to be somebody that already kind of knows, likes, and trusts you. So although we work virtually, or most of us as bookkeepers can work virtually, most of my clients, even today, are actually within a 60-mile radius of me.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't go into their offices, but I've met them in person before. I get invited to their events, their company events and that kind of thing. So I think the best way is to just, if you have a referral network, not a referral network, but a network of people that you can, a professional network of people that you can talk to, that is number one, right? The second thing would be to just make that to find that network. So that's where it can get a little uncomfortable. I think one of the most uncomfortable things that I've done is go to a meeting with, it was like a breakfast meeting for a bunch of attorneys. It's like attorney business owners. And that was super intimidating for me. That is so outside of my wheelhouse. I am an introvert, and I think most bookkeepers are. Something about the bookkeeping that kind of attracts our type, right? And so that was so outside of my wheelhouse, and outside of my comfort zone, but I went and did it. And it was interesting because I know that was less than a year into this. And I know that in my mind, I had that imposter syndrome where I was like, I don't belong here. I definitely felt that way. But it was really, it was nice to talk to a couple of people because there was about 20 people there total. And I sat next to a couple of them and they just made conversation. And I met one amazing attorney there that did not become a client, but he was, he's a CPA / business attorney. And he ended up referring a bunch of clients to me saying, they came in, they started a business. So I got a lot of startups to begin with. Yeah. So I would just encourage those that are starting and are working to get a client is to just kind of get out there in your local area. I think it's the best way to do it. I did do a lot of LinkedIn marketing as well, but I think it takes just, I don't know, 10 times, maybe 20 times the effort on LinkedIn
longer.
To build the trust that you would in person, right? And that's just the nature of us. When we meet somebody and we see them face to face, it's a lot easier to build that trust right away.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. I work with lawyers also. Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
that's my niche. Yeah, my husband's actually an attorney, so that was kind of like how I got into that.
Natural kind of niche to jump into.
Yeah, but there's like a lot of like specificity, I feel like, to attorneys and what they're
Absolutely.
doing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you were a marketing major, and then how did you get that job as a bookkeeper for the law office?
So I did minor in accounting, so that was where I
Okay.
decided to take I decided, hey, accounting's tough. Let's do something with it.
Yeah.
So I minored in it, and then I worked at the furniture store first. And so from the furniture store, I really gained most of my experience. I mean, when I say I had little to no experience, I mean I didn't know what QuickBooks was
Yeah.
at all. I had no idea. I had a little bit of experience with SAP, which is kind of crazy because that's not what small businesses use. They don't use such robust software. My first job as in the furniture store, we worked with QuickBooks, and I was like, okay, well, let's learn this.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
felt like I learned more in the first 3 months than I did in 4 years in college. And so moving on to the law firm, I had a base, right? I didn't
Okay.
understand accounting for attorneys or for law firms, but there was also another learning curve, but I already had at least that foundation that I
Yeah.
built in at the furniture store.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like every client, things are a little different.
It's always going to be different, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's actually one of the other points I like. It's always a little scary. I kind of touched on the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I still get that. I still get
Yeah.
it every time I get a new client. I'm
Uh-huh.
like you said, there's always something that's going to be different with
hmm
this client than even if all your clients are attorneys. One is so different than the other. Different
Yeah.
systems, different softwares. So there's always a little bit of that.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Bookkeeper Launch. So do you want to just give people maybe an overview of Bookkeeper Launch and kind of the pros of it and what you're proud of within Bookkeeper Launch?
Yeah, so the pros of Bookkeeper Launch is that we teach bookkeeping from A to Z, right? So you really don't have to have any background in bookkeeping or accounting. We bring it down to the basics, right? Debits and credits. That's what you first start to learn. After that, what I love about it is, as I mentioned, I went to college, minored in accounting, and never touched QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And one thing we do very differently is like you're going to be hands-on
hmm
within a couple of weeks in the course. You're hands-on. You're working with QuickBooks, which is what most small businesses are using. So while we teach you, we give you that foundation of bookkeeping, learning those debits and credits. We pretty quickly start to teach you how to start working within the software and kind of using it to your advantage, like letting the software do the heavy lifting, as long as, of course, you know what's going on in the background, right? What the software is doing. And not only that, after we teach the bookkeeping, I say after, really, it's kind of intermingled. We'll have like a couple lessons on accounting and bookkeeping and QuickBooks, and then we'll have another lesson on marketing, right? So we'll kind of sprinkle in some marketing in there. So we will teach you, we're not just teaching you how to be a bookkeeper, we're teaching you how to be a business owner. And
Yeah.
I think for me, that was the biggest hurdle. And, we have students in here that come through the course, and some will struggle with the bookkeeping side, but they have a really strong marketing side, or they're really strong on that side, and vice versa. So we get all kinds of students from that perspective. And then the other, we kind of have those three pillars. We have the accounting side where we teach you accounting. We have the marketing, and then the third one is systems. So in marketing, we're teaching you how to get that client. Systems, we're teaching you how to kind of be that business owner where you're having processes in place, and without that, it's really, really tough. It's easy when you have one or two clients, and I say that from experience because I did not write down any processes or anything like that. And then, I'm telling you, within like my third or fourth client, I was forgetting to do things, and having those processes in place makes it easier, not just for me, but it also makes it easy for me to scale, to be able to bring somebody and say, hey, this is how this is our standard, right, for our company, and this is how we operate. So we teach
Yeah.
you based on those three pillars on what we call the clients, which is the marketing, the systems, the processes, and then the last one was the accounting, the bookkeeping side of it.
Yeah. I love about Bookkeeper Launch, it's so specific about running your business and so practical because, yeah, I was kind of like self-taught as a bookkeeper, so I feel like I was figuring all that stuff out by myself 10 years ago. And I don't know, it was just so overwhelming, and I think it slowed me down actually. Whereas Bookkeeper Launch, they kind of like, you guys know, the process, and I love all the templates that you
Yeah,
guys give
yeah.
out. Those are amazing. Like there's like spreadsheets for all this stuff and like things written for you. And so, yeah, it's really helpful, I feel like.
Oh yes, yes. So we basically make it to where it's all done for you. All you got to do is, make it your own, right? So we'll provide templates, but at the end of the day, you may, your person, even though like you, Morgan, you work with the same niche as I do, I'm sure we market completely different, and
Yeah.
our websites probably look completely different, and so we always want to make it our own.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that really sets Bookkeeper Launch apart for me is how much help you guys give. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like all the calls and there's an email helpline, right? So can people just ask you any questions once they get a client?
Any question. And so I think that is really what like our secret sauce is
Yeah.
we're always there to support. And so the journey of an entrepreneur can be a little lonely, or a lot lonely.
Yeah.
When you don't have somebody on your on your side, right? You want to be able to have somebody that you can ask questions, no matter whether you're asking questions about, hey, what is my website? What should my website say? Or, hey, I don't understand what I should be doing with this client. I got a huge cleanup. What should I be doing? Like whatever that question is, or questions about the course, right? I don't understand this lesson. We're there for it. And I think one of the coolest things that we do is that we offer that for life. Like you can join us day one. You can ask a million questions, and 5 years from now, you're killing it as a bookkeeper, and come back and say, hey, I got a crazy client with this crazy situation, and we'll still help you.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I love that. And then the calls too. I almost forgot. That's the email support. You have unlimited access to that. But yeah, we have 2 calls every week. One will be focused on course related stuff. So like if you're going through the course, usually those are those students that are going through it still within those 90 days. And then the other call we have is for client-related questions. So once you have clients, I even say join us. If you have a fictitious client and you have some question, you're like, I want to know how this works, you can come in and join us too.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like, that's so valuable. And did you say, is that where you started out as I forget the word you called it, but helping out?
Yep, in support.
Like answering questions?
Yep.
Support.
Yep. So I started what we call is the student success support there. So yes, that is our team at the student success team, the SST is what we call, handles the emails, and then also the webinars, the calls that we have every week.
Yeah. Great. That's awesome. That's like it's so valuable. Yeah, because I felt so alone when I was starting, I feel like. And
it feels that
I would
way.
I would just spend hours on YouTube just like watching like Seth David's tutorials, or something, and just like trying to learn. But yeah.
And there's so much help online already, right? Like in YouTube. But sometimes you just want to you just want to have like a hotline. You can call somebody or email somebody and say, can you just quickly help me with this? And you know what? And when I say we have that email, I know I have experience with this where I email companies and you get an automated reply that says we'll get back to you in 48 hours. Now I think our worst response time, or like the latest you'll wait is like a couple of hours. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, for as big as we have gotten with a bunch of our students, that's one thing that we are really sticking by. We want to be able to actually provide really good support. Nothing's more annoying than calling somebody or sending an email to somebody and saying, we'll get back to you in 48 hours. And you're like, but I need help now.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Can you talk a little bit about the price of Bookkeeper Launch? Because I know some people feel like it's hard to make that investment, especially when you're starting out. Like you quit your job, you're living with your parents. You're like, how am I going to spend the money on this course?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bookkeeper Launch Pro, and it comes with everything that we have discussed so far, is $24.99, right? $2,499. But what we have done, and I've done when I did myself, whenever I went through this, I did the 12-month payment plan, something that I could actually digest, that I knew that I could actually afford at the time, right? And so for me, it was worth it. I made my money back within just 2 months, really, with my first client. And so for those, if you're kind of on the fence, and I'm with you, I get it. It is a lot. It's an investment, right? It's an investment in you. And so for those that are wanting to start a business, first of all, bookkeeping for me is something that it's a real business. It's a business that isn't going anywhere, that people need. It's not easy. I don't like to say that it's an easy thing to do, but otherwise it wouldn't be worth it, right? That's everything that's worth it. It comes with a little bit of cost, and I mean the cost of learning and kind of going through it and learning a new skill and really kind of a new language. It feels like it sometimes. But if you can take this and take 12-month payment plan and go through it, you will make that investment back if you go through the steps, right? And we have the course, it's laid out in a 90-day plan. However, you can finish it in as fast or as slow as you'd like. We have students that finish it that will definitely take their time on it. There's no rush on it. I think we just really like to have a plan so that if you want to stick to the 90 days, you can. And I say that because if you think about it, something that is $24.99, if it could really change your life in 3 months, I think it would be worth it, right? If you could really go from a full-time job to taking those first steps into freedom, into being able to kind of take control of your own time, to me, it was worth it. And Morgan, I think about some of our students, some of the coolest stories, and I don't have one of those, to me, at least one of those, the cool stories, because I don't have any kids. I guess one of my cool stories was that I was able to buy my dream car, but I think about like some of the students that have said, like, I was able to take my kid to the bus for the first time. I'm like, that's so powerful, right? Like that just, I mean, it warms my heart. And I'm just like, that's it right there. That alone makes it worth it, makes it worth the investment.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it can really be life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can you talk a little bit? Okay, so first of all, I feel like bookkeepers.com is always coming out with like new things, new programs. Is there anything that you want to highlight? And I'm also curious, like, are you, as the new CEO, is there anything you're like adding or any projects you're like working on or that kind of thing? Like, what's ahead?
So we definitely are always working on new projects. We have new stuff coming out every time. And I guess I'll take a step back because we do get this question a lot that says, because we have new products that come out and they said, well, I thought I got this with Bookkeeper Launch. And while yes, that is true, Bookkeeper Launch will teach you everything A to Z. Where we kind of come in with these different products are where we specialize in one subject, right? So for example, just to use something that's easy to understand would be we'll have several lessons on marketing, and we can touch on LinkedIn for a couple of videos, a couple of lessons, but then we might have a whole course that says this is the full done for you LinkedIn, right? And while we do discuss it in Bookkeeper Launch, we may do just a deeper dive into it in a separate course. And that's kind of what we've done with these separate courses that we've done, these smaller courses. Bookkeeper Launch is still the biggest course. It's the one that we have that has everything in it. Everything else is just like, okay, do you want to dive deeper into X, Y, or Z, right? And usually where that comes in is like, what are your weaknesses, right? Is marketing your weakness? Do you maybe just need more templates? Do you need this or that, right? And that's where those different courses kind of come in. And we are always working on some new ones. We have one called FinePoints now. Then that one's all about marketing and understanding financial statements. So I actually called it FinePoints because, it's, to me, at least for me, those were the hardest things. Being an introvert, marketing was very difficult for me. And then secondly, while I understood the bookkeeping, I couldn't really interpret financial statements too well, and I wanted a step-by-step guide, not only for me to be able to read financial statements and discuss them, but I wanted to be able to give that to somebody on my team and say, this is a standard, this is how we read financial statements, and this is how we kind of look for red flags that we want to talk to our clients about, etc. So that's what those different courses are. That was the FinePoints, and then another one that we have that's more of a software is Keepful. Keepful is So Keepful is more of a membership where we build your website for you. We create your marketing funnels. It's a CRM essentially where you can come in, keep your leads all nice and tidy, and you can keep in touch with them. So what we've seen a lot is, and I say this from experience for myself, I connect with somebody and I reach out to them the first couple times and then I forget about them. And so with something like Keepful, you just kind of put them into a funnel, and I'm emailing them once a month, just kind of, little tips and tricks about being a business owner. And what that does is just keeps me top of mind. And, you wouldn't believe how many times I'll get somebody like 8 months from now that says, hey, I'd like to book a meeting with you.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what Keepful does. It does a lot more than that, but we also host the website for you. Not only do we create it, but we host it. So we kind of save on we're able to save people on the cost of the website or the hosting and whatever. Like, for example, I used to use GoDaddy, and I paid for hosting and I paid for their templates, right, to use the web that I created the website on. So I was I actually moved all my stuff to Keepful a couple of years ago. I was late to it. We created the product, and it's tough being behind the scenes because I'm not the one in charge of Keepful. So to go to my own team and say, hey, can you take some time and also create my website?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I know. Kind of like that was on my list of things to actually make a video about. I think I talked to some people on your team about Keepful, and I started, because they totally make the website for you, right? Which is so nice.
Yep, completely. And so we get all kinds of different requests, and like we'll have somebody that says, hey, I've never created a website. These are the colors I like. Here's my logo. Just kind of go with it. And then you get people like me that I actually liked my website before. And I went to Heidi, who's on our team, and I said, Heidi, I don't really want to mess with it. I want to keep it as is. Can you just kind of copy it? And she did. Not only did she copy it, but she made it even better by adding a couple of different functions that I didn't have
nice.
with the other one. So so we could also do that, just kind of copy it. As best as we can, right? In my case, we actually improved it. And so we can also do that for you.
So at what point do you think someone would be ready for Keepful as a bookkeeper? Because again, I feel like, a lot of people that watch my channel are beginners, and it's overwhelming thinking about all these different things and options. And, and maybe they're not quite ready for a client pipeline, but would you say like after a year, or like at what point do you think that's
and I'm actually with you on that. I don't think you need to be spending any money as a startup on software. It's not you hear about all these new shiny objects and you want to jump on the next software. I would say it definitely bootstrap as a startup, right? Now, to give an exact timeline would be I think it's difficult because anything to do with marketing is more of like when you can afford it is when you should get it, because it's going to help you grow your business, right? It is going to help you grow. And so if you could afford it right from the get-go, if it's going to help you grow, then I think it's the right time. If you are 10 years in and you want to grow your business, it's still the right time. So it's really more of like, when can you afford it? And one thing we have done with Keepful is we do have 3 different packages. The way that I described it, I kind of described the concierge package, which is the highest one. We do have other ones, 2 other tiers below it. So if you are bootstrapping, we do have options for that as well. And I can tell you the lowest option is going to be very comparative, if not even less than what you would be paying for another company to just host the website. So but I'm with you on all that on bootstrapping. It's difficult. You hear about these new softwares that come out and it's so nice, you want to jump on them, and you hear how they saved somebody's company or helped it grow 10 times. But I'm all about bootstrapping and not really buying anything unless you can really afford it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am. All right, and then can you talk a little bit about like technological advances in bookkeeping? So AI obviously is a big hot button topic right now. What are your kind of thoughts about that and like the future of bookkeeping?
Yeah, so it's funny, we actually have a whole lesson on the future of bookkeeping. But basically my thoughts on AI, and AI is scary. And I think it's okay to be a little scared of AI. I think we all should be, no matter what field we're in. But right now, at least where we are in the stages of where AI is, I think it's at a place where we should be using it to our advantage. And I see bookkeepers already using it to excel and it's helping them grow. And so those that aren't adapting to AI and new technologies, they're going to be left behind if they haven't already. So I actually encourage, I'm a big AI user myself. I love using AI. I love using ChatGPT. In fact, I used AI to generate my LinkedIn image, my profile image. And I mean, I love it. I'm all in. It's a little scary, like I said, and I think you should have some respectable fear of it. But I think we should embrace it. It's not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. So it's a matter of just kind of embracing it and making sure that it's working for you. And I also, when it comes to kind of going back to what softwares should you invest in or should you use in your business, I think that's one of the things that I would say when you're looking into them, I would ask, how are they integrating AI into their software or their business? If they are not willing to accept it, I think that's a business or a software that's going to get outdated pretty quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. What else do you use like ChatGPT for? Do you ask it questions about your schedule or like?
Yeah. So, oh gosh, I use it for everything. So a lot of it is emails. I'm like, all right, my wife has told me you sound very bland and sometimes harsh. I'm just, it's not that I mean to, I just, sometimes I'm just a straight shooter. And she's like, you need to sound nicer. And so I know that. I'm like, okay, let me go to ChatGPT. How do I make myself sound nicer? Also, whenever I've looked for staff for like a new employee or a contractor, I always put in the whole job description in there. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, so I always make it. It's very goofy. It's totally all Star Wars based. My job description is. I'm always looking for the next Jedi to jump on the team, and so I've used it for stuff like that. I also use it for fun. Sometimes it's just fun to use. And even to like create schedules and stuff, sometimes I'll say, hey, these are my tasks that I need to complete by this week. These are the maybes, and these are the ones that are less priority. Here are my times that I'm available. Can you create a schedule for me? That kind of thing. So, gosh, ChatGPT has been amazing for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I'm still trying to kind of like work it into my routines and like have it, help me out. But I've been hearing stuff like that where people are, write me a schedule or like help me with this problem. But,
and you know what I've seen a lot of our students use it for is they get a new client in a new industry that they've never worked with, and they say, hey, can you give me a chart of accounts that would be specialized for this industry? And, could you Google it? Maybe, but I mean, it's just so much easier to just go to ChatGPT and it spits it right out. You still have to edit it some. It's not perfect, but it definitely gives you a good starting point.
Yeah. Is there a directory? I heard you talk about that on the other podcast that you're on.
Oh, yeah.
Like a bookkeeper directory?
Yep. We have a directory through Bookkeeper Launch. So it's kind of based for if you're looking for employment. So we can talk about that if you want.
So like connecting bookkeepers to each other.
Yep. So students go through the course and they are like, hey, you know what? I like the bookkeeping, but I'm not a business owner. How can I still make the most out of this investment? Well, that's how we kind of connect you with somebody.
Yeah. Do you want to just talk a little bit about how did you hire your first person for your bookkeeping business?
So the first person that I hired was a total failure. And I say a failure because it was totally on my part. I had a mess, and then I wanted to throw somebody at that mess and have them fix it. And I set them up for failure is what I did. I found them through Bookkeeper Launch. So they were a student. And I was still a student, and I say I still am a student really because I'm still learning. And like I said, I set them up for failure because I had a mess of a client that I didn't really have processes for, and I just kind of expected them to know what to do. And again, it was my own doing because this client was very specific. Not only that, but it was a lawyer, or it is a lawyer. And so you have to have some kind of background with working with attorneys, or at least have something in writing that teaches somebody how to do that. So I got my first contractor through Bookkeeper Launch. It was a student that said, "Hey, I don't really want to own a business. I just want to continue to work as a bookkeeper." And they worked for me for a little bit, and I don't blame them for leaving me. I would have left myself if I could. And shortly after that, I knew what was wrong. I definitely knew what was wrong. And my next step was to hire a VA. And I actually found a VA from Upwork. And the VA was the biggest blessing, and I guess it's not even in disguise. They were just a blessing because she was so good that she forced me to create my processes. So anytime I would throw a task at her, she'd say, "Do you have it in writing, or do you have a video on that?" And so I knew at that point, like, she was the right person for the job because she made me have my processes right. She went through my schedule also to make sure that I didn't double book myself, which I was doing a lot at that time. And so she did a lot of that, and also helping me with just kind of small email, like dealing with just kind of clerical type of emails that she could handle. And then after I took on my next staff member as a bookkeeper, there were also somebody from Bookkeeper Launch that, again, decided they didn't want to start a business. They just wanted to do the books. And work for somebody. I took them on, and because of that VA that I hired, I had those processes because she forced me to. She said, "Hey, there's no processes for this," and so I was using, and I still am using, Keeper as one of my task management softwares. And so one of the tasks that she had, my VA, was to go through to make sure all the tasks had either something in writing with instructions or a video with instructions. And so that was one of her tasks, and ever since then I've been religiously, we have to have any task we add, there has to be something in writing, ideally in writing and in video, if not just one of the other.
Okay, yeah. So your VA was not a bookkeeper. She was just she just helped you with other tasks.
Yep. So I do a lot of payroll still for clients.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of that is just kind of data entry stuff. And so that's what I hired her for more than anything.
Okay.
And then also just kind of handling my calendar and little emails, like a client's asking for some payroll data for an employee, and nothing that requires any kind of bookkeeping.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting to me how people form their bookkeeping, like what their bookkeeping businesses are comprised of. So do you feel like within Bookkeeper Launch, are most people like by themselves, like solo, or do they start hiring out, or what's your thought about that?
Yeah, so I think most of us are hiring somebody out, and I think like a good rule of thumb is after 5 clients, you should probably start looking into hiring somebody. And you might think, I can't afford somebody, but especially through our systems, we have a bunch of students that just want to get to practice. So even if you have 5 clients and you're like, I can do this for 5 clients, I really don't need somebody. There are bookkeepers that are willing to spend a couple of hours a month just on one client. So, it's not like I had to hire somebody full time or even 20 hours a week, anything like that. Like, there are plenty of students more than happy to take on just a couple of hours of work a month, and just to kind of gain that experience. So I think that's what a lot of the students that have grown their practices to the point where they need to hire have done. And then a lot of those that are starting maybe have just gotten their certification through us, they try to work under somebody to just kind of get that feel of what it's like to have a real client.
Yeah, that is helpful. Yeah.
It's difficult, right? Like, you go in and no matter how much, and it kind of goes to what I was saying when I got my first job, you can teach somebody all of the theory, teach them how it's done, but it's not until you really have that first client that you feel like, oh, hey, we're doing this. This is real life now. This isn't a fake client anymore. Like, these are real. This is real money going in and out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, great. I think that's all my questions. What should people do if they're interested in Bookkeeper Launch? I know I have a link that people can use to purchase if they're interested. And then can they email you guys with questions?
Absolutely. So definitely use the link that I assume will be in the description below.
Yes.
Awesome. And then you can always email us at success@bookkeepers.com. No matter what your question is, email us. If you have questions about me, maybe you watch this and you're like, I want to know more about this that he said. Email us. Whether it's me or somebody else that answers, I will definitely make sure that we all know what was said here, and we can kind of help you out. So whatever questions you have, know that we'll be available and able to answer it. Another thing I wanted to mention, Morgan, I almost forgot, is that I think that we do really well is our guarantee. So we have a 30-day money back guarantee. So with, if you're kind of weighing your options, you can always do the monthly payment plan. You can also do the full payment. But you can, within 30 days, no questions asked, you can cancel your account. You get a full refund. So there really is no risk in it. And what I mean, there's no questions asked. We don't make you jump through a bunch of hoops. You go through it and you're like, you know what, bookkeeping's not for me. And we'll honor that. Because although it was life-changing for me, it's been life-changing for so many students. I know that it's not for everyone. Like I said, it's not easy. Some people, you realize, they give it a shot and they realize, they hate this stuff.
Yeah.
and that's okay. It's not for everyone.
Yeah. I do feel like you guys have amazing customer service in general. Like even
Thank
through
you.
like the sales process, like it just seems like everyone has a lot of like integrity and like they care about the students. And yeah, they're not gonna, like you said, like ask a bunch of questions or like
Yeah,
they're very eager to please, it seems like.
Thank you. Yeah, and I will say a lot of our staff are people kind of like me that bought the course. We went through it. A lot of our staff does still own their own bookkeeping business, so we like to walk the walk too, right?
Yeah.
So we really believe in what we've built here, and we want the same for everybody else.
Yeah, that's amazing. Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Morgan. It's been fun.
All right. Appreciate it.